So basically, you are energy. You are a soul with a body, not a body with a soul. And so you have a unique purpose. Your guides, you kind of have a contract with them, so to speak. You attract these helpers before you're born, so they can help you master the lessons that you've come to learn this lifetime.
Hello, and welcome to the Connectedness Podcast. Just as you might have guessed, I talk about connection and connectedness on this podcast, our connection with everything in the world around us. Whether you see it or not, we're all connected, and it doesn't matter if it's our dog, our cat, our God, our body, and I'll also talk about some more abstract connections like our career or our land, our community, our emotions, your body. Life is all about connection, so the sooner we recognize that, the sooner we can have an easier, more meaningful life. I will talk about these connections through different lenses, things like synchronicities and coincidences, or just everyday little bits of magic and miracles that we usually dismiss. It's really important that we pay attention to all of this so we can live an easier, more meaningful life. So welcome to the show. I'm your host, Karen Cleveland. Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm super excited to introduce my guest today. She's an associate of mine. Melissa Kitto is a certified spiritual coach and workshop facilitator. She has over 30 years experience in the field of spiritual growth and development. She teaches practical tools to help develop your intuition, connect with your guides, and live your unique life purpose. Welcome to the show, Melissa. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you about this today because a lot of people, will dig into it, but need help knowing how to connect with some guidance and living a life purpose. So why don't you give us just a little bit of story about how you got started into it, and if this has been a lifetime journey or if it started later in life, whatever. How did you get here today?
Yeah. So for me, it did start early on. I had some mystical experiences when I was about 4 or 5 years old, but I kind of put them out of my mind because my parents told me you're making it up. It's just your imagination,
Right.
But my real journey started around when I was 12 years old. My mother at that time was really searching for herself. And so she started telling me some of the things that she was learning about spirituality, guides, intuition,
Oh,
past lives, all the things. But I was 12, I was nearly a teenager. It still sounded a little strange to me. I wasn't sure about this, but I think I was curious. So when she asked if I wanted to have a session to learn about my angels and my intuition, I said yes. And during that session, which is the same thing I now do for my clients, I learned a technique to communicate with my angels, and I still didn't really expect anything to happen. I didn't know if this was even real. And I had in that moment an experience that I couldn't deny was not me. I could sense that we live in two worlds at one time. I could see the table and chairs in front of me in the material world, but I could also feel like I tapped into the spiritual connection, and it felt just as real as, the physical room. So that was sort of now what I would describe as a spiritual awakening. I didn't realize that at the time.
Right.
And that really set me on a path in my teenage years of just really searching, taking a lot of classes and reading a lot of books and learning how to, develop my own gifts, knowing that I have a unique life purpose. And for me, having a connection with my guides helped me to make those decisions that are big turning points in our life. I left my home country of New Zealand. I first moved to England. I then moved to the United States. All of those things that feel really scary and risky.
Yeah.
But because I had that spiritual connection, I was able to, do those things with trust.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. To go through your teenage years like that. So I have a couple of questions about that. One, what about your friends? Did they think you were weird? Did you not have friends, or were you able to find people that thought that was cool, or how did that go?
Well, that's a great question. I was in the spiritual closet. I didn't tell anybody I
Okay.
was doing
Okay.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only person I told was a boyfriend. And I mean, he wasn't really interested in himself, but he was fine for me to do it. And yeah, but other than that, at that time, I was really scared of
Oh,
anybody knowing about this
I'm
stuff.
sure. Right.
Yeah. And so that was a big thing I had to heal within myself. And now I'm on YouTube and talking about it all day
Yeah.
long. So it's amazing how, when you heal a block like that, it can really open some doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so you had mystical experiences at 4 or 5 years old, and I know you have a child, and I'm sure you have other children in your life. Do you feel like you're more open to what they're saying, to what their experiences might be?
Yeah, and my son has always known that he's a soul, and he's always known that he has guidance. And when he was little, he would tell stories about past lives and just
Oh,
as a matter of fact conversation. I think, to be
wow.
honest, I was a little too fascinated and wanting him to say things that he sometimes just didn't. Um, but I think that, he has that foundation and a big kind of value for me and how I work with my clients and how I raise my son is, you have your own unique life purpose. And it's about getting in touch with your own heart's desires and making your own decisions. Because
Yeah.
so much of the way that we're raised in this society is everybody else telling you what to do, and
Yeah,
we lose touch with that inner guidance.
exactly. Exactly. So speaking of getting in touch with our inner guidance, um, how does a person do that? How do you recommend, the listeners, if they don't know, or if they don't really even know what spirit guides are? Can you just do like a brief explanation or a long one? Either way.
Yes. So basically, you are energy. You are a soul with a body, not a body with a soul. And so you have a unique purpose. Your guides, you kind of have a contract with them, so to speak. You attract these helpers before you're born, so they can help you master the lessons that you've come to learn this lifetime. They've kind of graduated from planet Earth level. They don't need to come back here, but they're still mastering themselves by being a guide or a helper to you. But they just have a little more experience in some areas. So we live in two worlds at one time. We live in the physical world and the spiritual world. You are a spiritual being having a physical experience, but your guides aren't really part of the physical world. They don't have a physical body. So the way to connect with them is through your own spiritual abilities. So it means that you need to be in touch with that and develop that within yourself. And a lot of us, I still struggle with this sometimes, right? A lot of us are way more in our head. We
Mm.
basically have two parts to our nature, the intellect and the feelings. Your feeling nature is the real you as a soul. And it's the part of
Oh.
you that is very sensitive and senses energy and feels things and knows things. You can get premonitions, you can get hunches, but we're so used to being in our intellect that a lot of people talk themselves out of that, don't trust it, think it's weird, wrong, right? And so
Yeah.
the first step is to learn to pay attention to what's already there, because it's not actually something new that you need to learn, right? It's already you as a being, right? So it's
Mm.
learning what am I feeling? What am I sensing? What am I picking up? There's actually 4 spiritual gifts that we have. And a person will have one of those that's their primary.
Oh,
And that's
okay.
one of the things I do in a consultation for people to help them to know which one is their primary gift.
Oh,
So if
really?
you're
Okay.
yeah. So if you're visionary like I am, I'm always getting a lot of pictures. I'm seeing things. I'm seeing people's faces that I need to contact or something like that. If you're more clairaudient or intuitive, it's hearing guidance. You're
Mm.
probably higher in that one, I would guess. Words popping in your mind. You need to understand things. Prophetic people just know things without being told, and they're really sensing energy as a knowing.
Mm.
And feeling type people are, their feelings, they have those gut hunches, and they're the ones that are really, really sensitive to feeling, what everybody else is feeling in the environment, right? So
Okay.
that's us
Wow.
through these avenues. We have our own gifts too, but we need to sense and pick up that guidance, and it will just kind of pop in your mind out of nowhere. when your
Right.
angels are contacting you.
So you just said angels and you talked about spirit guides. Are they one and the same?
Yeah, so I kind of use those words interchangeably, really.
Okay.
The idea is that these are master souls and you have a personal team. So in my work, I really help people with that personal team. And we're not talking about contacting archangels or, gods or goddesses or anything like that. Well, I'm just really helping you with your personal team. So whether you decide to call them guides or angels or helpers, I don't think it really matters.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's like you have those guides that are there for you,
Okay. Are there things that they do help us with versus things that they can't help us with? Are there limitations on the guidance?
There are some, there's kind of these ethics that they work with. The big thing that they can really help us with is they can see things that we can't see because they're not part of planet Earth energy. It's like they have a bird's eye view on our life. So they can help us to be in the right place at the right time, to do the things that are in alignment with your purpose. And, when I'm making decisions about things now, I'm often saying, okay, is this a high priority for my unique life purpose? Or is it a medium priority? And if I get from my guidance it's a medium or a low priority, it's usually I feel obligated to do it. Somebody else is telling me to do it, but it's not really in alignment.
Okay.
So as you start, and I teach people how to ask direct questions to speed up this process and get confirmation right away from your guides, and as you work with that, you can start to see, okay, this is the roadmap for my life. These are my next steps.
So
the things that, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the things that they don't help us with is there's some things you want to avoid, like I think predicting the future is kind of dicey, right? And for some reason, psychics are supposed to predict the future, but the future can always change based on other people's free will. And they won't interfere with another person's free will, right? So you want to find out if that person's, going to date you or like that they just won't work with that kind of thing. And they really won't tell you what to do. So if you're saying, should I do this? Tell me. They won't make your decisions for you. What they're doing is they're giving that bigger picture guidance so that you can make the best decision that you can.
So how would you ask a question? If they're not going to tell you what to do, is it going to be what's going to be the easiest outcome for this? What should I do for my highest purpose, or as opposed to an exact answer?
So it's the way that you phrase the question.
Okay.
So you're asking their opinion, and then you can take or leave it as an opinion. And it's really good to first decide, what is it I really want? I do in my life, I phrase a lot of questions based on my unique life purpose. But you can also ask, hey, if you have a business goal, you want to get 10 new clients, or a relationship goal, right? Like I manifested a partner a few years ago. And so you say, this is what I really want. Then they can help you know what is the best first step toward that that's going to be smooth, right? But the other thing is, we're here to learn and grow in this lifetime. So your angels aren't going to take all your problems away and make it easy for you. Because sometimes they're actually leading you to the growth that you need, the things that you need to heal in order to then manifest your true heart's desires.
You had mentioned earlier something about them helping you be in the right place at the right time. So would you say they help orchestrate things like what we call coincidences? Yes.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes. And that's when a lot of people start coming to me, is they're saying, I'm having coincidences all the time. I keep seeing number sequences and having dreams. It's like when we're ready for this spiritual path, it seems to go on turbocharge, like it's everywhere, right? Your angels want to get your attention. Yeah. But yes, there's so much help and backing that we have that's unseen. And so when you start to acknowledge that and trust it, it can open things up in amazing ways.
Okay. Now you've talked about life purpose a couple times, or our soul's calling. Are those one and the same? And do they change over our lifetime, or do we come to Earth with just one thing, one primary goal, do you think?
Yeah, it's So it's a big topic. And yes,
No.
we have a unique life purpose. There's actually lots of aspects to that.
Okay.
And so this is what I help people with in my Authentic and Aligned program. And so we have, first of all, we have a unique spiritual vibration. And that is your essence, your uniqueness that you're here to express. And you can actually learn a statement that describes that. That's the energy that we sense in people and that we miss when they're not around. And then you
Okay.
have a mission. There's something that you're here to accomplish. It's that driving force. Why am I here, right? What am I here to accomplish? And I feel like that will unfold over time. But what I teach people, the first step is to get in touch with your desires. And that
Mm,
sounds simple, but for a lot of people, it's really hard to do. They
right.
don't know what they want
Yeah.
because there's so much programming from family, upbringing, and society and whatever else that's saying this is what you should do. But
Exactly.
what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And when you start uncovering that and following it, even if it's messy and it's not perfect along the way, that is actually the path to your purpose, right? Some people think that their purpose is this elusive thing that they haven't found yet, but it's actually inside of us if we start to look within and acknowledge it.
Oh, right. That makes sense. And this is something that you can help people learn how to connect with their guides to find that, right? So the guides
Yeah.
can help a person identify it. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. So your guides can direct you to it. Your guides know what your purpose is.
I
And
suppose
so a
so.
lot of
Okay.
times and so a lot of times when you're consulting with them, they will be answering based on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And everybody's purpose is unique. So this is why we need to have these helpers because you can't compare yourself to anybody else. You know, your path and purpose is unique and you have to do what feels right for you.
Right. I meant to ask you this before we got on air, but have you written any books about this, or you have your courses and you do personal one-on-one work, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I think I'm getting some signs that I need to. I had an ebook a few years ago. It was co-written with somebody that, is not what I want to put out there anymore. So it's time for a refresher to reach more people. But yes, I've put all of the, before COVID, I used to travel all around the world teaching workshops, and I really have understood what people's challenges can be with connecting with their angels, like they're second guessing, they're not trusting,
Right.
and I've put all of that experience and really simple tools into my Communicate with Angels course.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about that before the show because it's like I haven't heard that she has a book, so I need to ask about that. Well, I'll know that's coming out
Thank you for following your
soon.
hunch. And that's a great example, though, of how it works. Like, there's a part of me that wants to put that on the shelf and not look at it, right? Human nature.
Right.
But this is like the third or fourth time that somebody's mentioned that to me within a few weeks. And
Uh-huh.
previous to that, nobody said book to me at all. So it's like when when things show up, they start showing up to get our attention.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Okay, two-sided question. So two answers, I guess. But what do you wish people would stop doing, like when it comes to our purpose or connecting with our guides? And what do you wish they would do instead?
Interesting. Yeah. So I think that the main challenge that people have is that they're wanting their angels to tell them what to do.
Mm,
And and that's kind of a religious concept. A lot of religious concepts permeate our society, and we don't even realize we have them. And
yeah.
it's like somebody else is my boss. Somebody else needs to tell me what to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's like really knowing that yes, I help people connect with your guides, but really it's more about you at the end of the day, trusting yourself and being aware of that spiritual part of you that is so suppressed in our society. We're starting to come back to the balance But our society right now is way overly masculine, way overly intellectual. And the more feminine, intuitive part of us is almost seen as weak and silly. But it's actually where your power lies, right? That's what's going to create your success, your abundance, your happiness, is following that part of you.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to connecting with your angels, it's like, use that as an advisor, and they are going to help you to see possibilities that you can't see for yourself. They can see things that we can't see. They're stretching us sometimes. Sometimes I get an answer from my guides that I don't understand, and I have to just kind of sit with it. And even it might take a couple of weeks to understand, okay, this is why they're directing me in that direction, because there's a bigger picture reason for it that I couldn't see initially.
Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes we might think we get the wrong answer, or we get a crazy answer, and it's just because we don't know the whole story yet, right? We don't.
Exactly. I mean, how many times we had that experience where in hindsight you see like something that seemed like a real challenge and you're just a failure. In hindsight, you see it was exactly what needed to happen.
Yeah.
I'm getting chills as I say that. That's another sign that your angels are around. That's a really good one for people to know about, is when you feel chills or tingling or goosebumps. That's your angels kind of giving you confirmation that you're in the right track, or that there's truth occurring. Yeah.
Interesting. And you mentioned a lot of people seek you out when they start seeing like numbers repeating or different patterns. So I suppose that is the guides just really saying, listen, is that what's going on? Or because they don't have any physical way to physically do anything, right? Like they're not that they would shake us and say, wake up or anything like that. But so it has to be something that makes us notice. Is that right? Makes us stand up and say, what is this all about?
Yeah, I think some people need that. It's like that awakening stage. You're learning to pay attention and acknowledge it and having your own experiences. Because that's why when I had that experience connecting with my angels at 12 years old, that's why it stuck with me so strongly, because it was my own experience. It wasn't just my mother telling me stuff that I thought was weird. It's like, oh, okay, now I've experienced this and I can feel that it's true. And that's the key for people. So I think, if it's just the mundane every day, you're not going to pay attention. But I remember when I first moved into my apartment after getting divorced, it was a really big deal and a really big manifestation for me to do that. And the first month or two I lived in that apartment, I saw pennies everywhere. Like there was just pennies in every room. And logically you think, who is walking through this? Like, nobody's walking through this apartment throwing pennies everywhere.
Yeah.
So I realized that was my guides just really, wanting to get my attention and to say, hey, you're in the right track. You're right where you need to be. Because it was a scary thing at the time, but, I got that confirmation,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Now that you mention it, I can remember times in my life seeing things repeated when I wasn't sure I was doing the right thing.
Yes.
So yeah, that's good to know.
And then the next stage is then to actually start communicating. So people are starting to connect, but they don't know how to interpret the messages.
Okay.
Right. And so then, I have a free mini course that I have where you can learn to hear a message from your angels and actually start to receive that communication directly, rather than it being cryptic and confusing, like pennies on the floor.
When you say hear, you mean it could be visions or words or however we are, not necessarily word hearing it, because you mentioned there's 4 spiritual gifts, right? So it might not be actual words. Or
well, everybody has all 4.
Okay.
So in that course, I just focus on hearing, because that's one.
Okay.
Yeah, it is one that's easier to start with, simply because we're used to communicating with words with people.
Okay.
So when you hear a word, it can be a little quicker and easier to pick up at first. But yes, we definitely receive messages through all 4 of them. And you have one that's your primary. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds super interesting. Where do they find that course at if they're interested?
Yeah. So my website is communicatewithangels.com. You'll find it on there. And then there's also the /hear your angels. But it
Okay.
is right there on my website,
Okay.
communicatewithangels.com.
Hear your angels. Okay, I just had to ask that. So if you could let everyone know in the world, you have a message for everyone that something we need to know, we need to start doing, or whatever it is, what would your message to the world be?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's that you have a unique purpose. And I know we hear those words, but if you really feel into that, to know that you are important, that your contribution is needed. There are people who need what you have, right? And this doesn't have to be standing on stage or writing a book. It can be as simple as the people that you interact with every day, right? But knowing that you have a mission here to accomplish and something important to share. I think that we have, an epidemic of low self-esteem in our world, and if people can just start to realize that you are special, you are unique, your gifts are important in whatever way that you choose to share them.
Nice. I believe that as well. I think you're right on. So why don't you talk about your is it Authentic to Aligned? Is that what it's called, your course?
Yes. So it's called Authentic and Aligned. And I have a training through an organization called the Wayshowers College. And there are some amazing materials that I'm certified to present through that. And what I did was I pulled together the key tools that a person needs to know to really understand their authentic self, right? So just as I was saying, you're special, you're unique, but sometimes we don't know how, or we take for granted what we're good at. So in that, the first part is knowing your authentic soul self. And that includes learning that spiritual mantra, your vibration that I talked about before, what your mission and purpose is. And then some other things that the words kind of probably don't have a lot of meaning if you don't know what it is, but it's like, what is we call it your policy. There's an energy that fuels you to do what you come to do. So my first policy, for example, is strength.
Mm.
So if I have, that's my inner pivot at the core. If I lose my inner strength, I'm really not on a good place, right? And so people have different ones. You learn about where you fit with opportunities. Are you the go-getter starter like I am? A lot of entrepreneurs are that.
Yeah.
Or are you more a builder where you learn to refine things, or a consolidator, works with systems? So
Oh.
there's all these kind of different aspects that people learn in the course through private sessions that I offer them. And we also have group calls where you share with each other. And then when you really understand and know that authentic self, then you can start aligning your work, your relationships, everything that you're involved with in the material world with your true authentic self.
Mm.
And because what I started seeing over and over again is that people are looking outside of themselves for answers. They're really trying to find happiness and fulfillment.
Right.
But what they're doing is they're saying, okay, what career am I supposed to be doing that's going to make me happy? What relationships and friends can I have that are going to make me happy? And that all of that is important, but it's only half the equation. And people are totally missing the spiritual part of themselves. And so you really get to learn who you are. So then, I just finished this course about a month ago, and there was about 2 or 3 women in there who were really looking for a new job, and they were interviewing. And they said, now that I've been through Authentic and Aligned, I can see these job opportunities come up, and I can say that one just isn't for me. And they're not going to waste their time because they know truly what they're good at, what they're gifted at, what's going to be fun for them. And they can then, rather than so it's like we feel like a square peg in a round hole, right? So you're trying to move yourself and change yourself to fit the job,
Right.
rather than going, this is me and I'm good with me. I'm not going to change because it's who I am. So what is the job that's a match for me? Right. And we do that in relationships too. I did that in my marriage. I was changing myself to fit somebody else.
Right.
And that just will eat you up inside over time.
Yeah.
So this is what authentic and aligned helps people with. And it's a process that you don't know to really find that authentic soul self. So then the things that you are involved in your material life then become really happy and fulfilling and joyful. And that at the end of the day is what we're seeking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What we're seeking. So you don't even, a person doesn't even have to go down the wrong path to start with and change it time and time and time again, right? They have a good idea of what direction to go.
Yeah. And it becomes like this hamster wheel that people do, like, oh, well, that job didn't make me happy. So what else can I do? Right. And
Yeah.
they're looking out there. And if you know your authentic self and those gifts and where you belong, where you fit your niche in life, then you can just seek that opportunity that's a good match for you.
Right. Right.
When you're in your niche in life, there's this natural growth and expansion and flow that happens. And life becomes fun again. A lot of people go, there's a cliche now of saying, I love what I'm doing so much, I can't wait to get up out of bed in the morning. And that's what people are actually looking for when they tell me they want their life purpose.
Yeah.
But that's not your purpose. That's your niche. It's that place where you fit so that you can express your purpose and your uniqueness.
Yeah. I was reading during the Great Resignation of the last couple of years, all these people that have resigned and either have new jobs or whatever they have, they're no more happy, or perhaps a large percentage of them are less happy than they were prior to the Great Resignation. So yeah, we need to know what we're looking for before we actually do it, I guess. I completely resonate with that.
Yes, it's that inner work, that self-understanding, right? And I've been lucky enough to learn tools that really help a person to do that. So by going through this process, people come out the other side and go, okay, now I know. And there's just this calm that was on these women's faces when they had graduated from the course, because they know who they are and they're not needing to prove anything anymore, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being here. Tell us where to find that course at. Is that also on your website?
So you can go to communicatewithangels.com/authentic and aligned. And there's a wait list on there right now, but I'm going to be opening up enrollment soon. So it's really good time to get on the wait list so that you can get the best pricing and the best deals on there. If it resonates.
Fantastic. All right. Communicate with Angels. Well, thank you, Melissa Kitto. It's been a pleasure. I love learning about some of this, and I will look forward perhaps talking at a deeper level someday about some of the more of the soul's purpose and such. But anyhow, thanks for being here. And I just want to say goodbye to the listeners, and we will connect again soon.
Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to head over to revkarenpodcast.com. That's REVKAREN podcast.com. There you're going to find the tools for finding more meaning and happiness in your own life. Plus, if you have a story that you want to share with me, either on or off the air, be sure to look for that form. Make sure you follow me so you get notified when new episodes drop. And also, I'd love to connect with you in my Facebook group, Connectedness with Rev Karen. So head over to revkarenpodcast.com. I hope to see you there.